Alright, before we get into the video, check this out. This Saturday, the 13th, I'm doing a 24-hour live stream on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube to celebrate 1,000 followers on Twitch. The stream is going to start at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to be doing a 24-hour offline Nurburgring race with AI, and the gimmick is we have to do it, or at least try to do it without pausing. So again, this Saturday, the 13th, 12 p.m. Eastern, 24-hour stream. All right, let's get into it. On June 6, 2022, we started a mission to drive every car in Gran Turismo 7 around Nurburgring Nordschleife. On November 22nd, 2023, we completed that goal. Over the course of 534 days, there were 795 laps completed over the course of 8 different games, but our main goal of driving all 491 cars in Gran Turismo 7 was completed. And here we go. Oh! I did not know I was in reverse. I feel like if you could keep the drifts under control, it will, oh my god! Jesus Christ! I didn't see any of that! That is my best drift ever, right there. No! Oh, cameraman, super fucking dead. Swag. Okay. Go! There we go. Got it. Godlike, baby. That's a great song to finish off with. Alright, so there's actually 488 cars in the game. Apparently there are 3 cars that are counted as special editions, don't really count as a separate car. But yes, we did drive all 488 cars around Nordschleife. I was inspired by world finalist Road Beef, aka Tristan Bayless. I was watching his streams and he used to do a lot of first person laps around Nordschleife in various cars, and I was like, I want to do that. I don't know why, I was just intrigued, just like the way he presented the cars and everything. Like I was like, I want to do this. Now granted, I'm not as good as a driver as he is, and I also don't know as much about these cars as he does, but I still set out for myself to take every car, drive a lap around the track, and not only stream it all, but I eventually wanted to document each lap. So if you look here, you can actually see every lap is documented on YouTube in a playlist, Nurburgring Nordschleife Time Trials. Out of all 795 laps, I ran 744 of them. I've had a few friends, both in person and online, actually run some few laps in a couple community events too. My stipulations were similar to Road Beef's. He ran all of the road cars on Comfort Soft tires or less, and all the race cars were on Racing Hards or less. It started off kind of bare bones, just line the cars up and then go. After a while, we started adding some starting sounds and finishing sounds, but we also added extra challenges, like we've done laps with like no ABS, we've done laps in the rain, we've even done a few laps backwards. Have you ever tried driving Nordschleife backwards? It's hard enough forwards. Let me see you try a lap in Nurburgring Nordschleife backwards. It ain't easy, trust me. So over the course of this journey, we drove cars that were an absolute joy to drive. We drove some cars that were absolute nightmares. There were some cars that we really didn't know much about, but we ended up really enjoying. And what I've done in this video is compiled a list of 13 of some of my favorite cars, either in general or some of my favorite cars that I drove around this track. It was a combination of my 13 favorite cars / cars that I enjoyed driving. I was initially going to do top 10 cars, but there were a few more that I wanted to add on, plus I like the number 13. So we're going to do our top 13 cars in Gran Turismo 7. Take it away. The Porsche 918 Spider is a gorgeous car. I mean, just look at it. And that sound. Orgasmic. This car produces 874 horsepower, easily propelling it to over 210 miles an hour down the back straight at Nordschleife. The acceleration on this car is insane, and although the four-wheel drive drivetrain makes the car a tad heavy, it still handled Nordschleife fairly well. I honestly didn't know much about this car before GT7, but once the silhouette was revealed, I looked up the car and its specs, and I started looking forward to running this lap. NNTT lap number 107 in the 918 was completed in just under 725, but after 2 revisits and 2 PP calculation changes and 2 physics changes, our current fastest lap is a 7:11.943. I'm gonna be honest, this car made it on this list for the sound alone. I could just end this here and let you listen to this for the rest of this clip. Sound aside, this is another beautiful car. Being a Ferrari fan means I'm a bit biased as well, so that may have influenced my decision to put this car on the list. Our fastest lap in the 330 was a 6:48.380, which is the 139th fastest lap across all stock laps, which is really good for a car from the 60s. Alright, I'm just gonna stop talking and let you enjoy this engine. Back in GT Sport, when I was learning the Group 4 ropes, I was drawn to the Cayman GT4 Club Sport. Not really sure why, it just happened. Then PD announced the road-going version of the Cayman GT4 in Gran Turismo 7, but I was just like, eh. When I took it for its lap, it was lap number 168 FYI, the car felt extremely stable, almost as if I was driving the Club Sport version. Good traction in and out of corners, and remember these laps are run on comfort softs for road cars. I ran a 7:45.382, but this was done before the patch that essentially buffed road cars. I definitely owe this car a revisit. This car looks good. Like, really good. I remember seeing this car back in Gran Turismo 2 and thinking, yeah, this is a nice looking car. It wasn't until years later when I found out that the 220 was to signify its top speed. Its theoretical top speed. The GT7 edition of this car has 515 horsepower, which is lower than the real-life production model, which has 542 horsepower, which still didn't get the car to 220 miles an hour. Okay, look, I know I'm talking down on the car. It's a good-looking supercar. It lapped the Nurb in 7 minutes, 33.797 seconds, which is somehow 13 seconds faster than the real-life counterpart. I guess I'm just that damn good. Formula One, the pinnacle of motorsport, depending on who you ask. Sure, the racing nowadays isn't quite as exciting as it is in other racing series, but these cars are arguably the fastest race cars on the planet. Now, I am a Ferrari fan through and through, but whenever I see a Twitter post asking what's the most iconic Formula One livery, as much as I want to say the Marlboro Ferrari from the early 2000s, the McLaren MP44 is my pick. But not only is the livery memorable. Okay, here's the livery. I keep talking about it, but you can't see it. There, it's right there. But its performance in 1988 was absolutely insane. The Honda-powered McLaren won all but one race that season, and that performance propelled the MP44 around Nordschleife in only 5 minutes 43.324 seconds, which is a top 25 time in all of the laps we've run in Gran Turismo 7. But it's actually not the fastest car on this list. When I think of this car, I think of two games, Gran Turismo 4 and Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. In Need for Speed, there was the Strassenversion of the car, quote-unquote street legal version of the CLK GTR, or CLK LM, depending on what year it is. You know, this car handles so well. Sometimes when I drive it, I actually think it's an FR, but it's definitely mid-engine. Before the race car physics nerf, this car posted the third fastest Group 2 lap at a 6:03.779. The two faster cars were the 2016 Lexus and Nissan. They both went about 2 seconds faster. Post-patch, it went about 10 seconds slower, but it's still an amazing car to drive. Not just around Nordschleife, but anywhere. I love Group 1. Although this is a Group 1 car, this is more accurately classified as a Group C car, one of 5 featured in Gran Turismo 7. However, the game doesn't classify these cars as such technically. Under BOP conditions, they can't really compete with modern Group 1s. This car has a great amount of downforce, but modern Group 1 cars are even more grippy. I feel like I'm going down the wrong road right now. Look, this thing is fast. It's debatable which Group C car is fastest, but since Gran Turismo 4, I have always enjoyed driving this car specifically. Nearly 800 horsepower and more than enough grip to tackle Nordschleife, this car navigated the green hell in 5:56.489 in the latest handling update. Anything under 6 minutes around Nordschleife is hella fast. We have done 795 laps in our NNTT sessions. Out of those 795 laps, 8 of them were in a Pagani Zonda R, and 7 of those laps were in GT7. The 8th was in GT Sport. I mention that because it is the highest number of laps we've driven in a single car. That is approximately 1.006289308176101% of all the laps we've done. Yeah, that's not a lot, but whatever. The Pagani Zonda is one of my favorite cars, but specifically the road car, the C12S 7.3. The Zonda R has much better aero, much more power, and much better tires. Our fastest lap around Nordschleife was a 6:19.124. Not only is that 15 seconds faster than the real-life record, but it was also done while drunk. Don't drink and drive, people. I go by Tuzenbox. The Chaparral 2J is essentially a box. Therefore, we are kindred spirits. I refer to the Chaparral 2J as majestic. Okay, now look at how majestic this car is, bro. The most majestic car in GT7 takes the victory. Who would have thought? Feels great to be king. It's a wonder of motorsport engineering being one of, if not the first fan car in racing. Instead of spoilers, this car uses a fan to create suction, aka downforce, to give this car crazy levels of grip, especially in low speed corners. In Gran Turismo 4, this was the first car I used to win the GT World Championship. It was also the fastest car I could afford at the time, so I kind of had no choice. In this game, it's not the easiest car to drive, especially around the bumpy Nordschleife where any bump ruins the section effect and kills its downforce. Despite this, we managed a 550.056, which is very close to Group 1 times. If only this car could be classified as Group 1. If only. You remember when I said the McLaren MP44 wasn't the fastest car on my list? Yeah, this one is. It was only 2 seconds faster though. It ran a 541.969, which is 1.6 seconds faster than an F1 car from the late 80s. Huh. Anyway, this is by no means the best Group 1 car, neither under bop conditions or non-bop. When pushing this car at max pace, it's quite tail happy. I did consider driving this car in my 24-hour Nurburgring race / stream, but I couldn't drive it consistently. However, I still love it. A car doesn't have to be perfect to make this list, and again, it was the fastest car on the list, even if it is one of the sketchiest. The McLaren F1 was the supercar of the 90s. 626 horsepower, curb weight of just 2,500 pounds, and a top speed of 240 miles an hour. This was every child's dream car. I mean, at least it was one of mine. Now, the McLaren F1 in this game is an absolute nightmare to drive. But the McLaren F1 GTR, actually, it's still kind of bad. This car has quite the tendency to lose the rear, and in a Group 3 car, that is the last thing you want. The racing version of the F1 has a slightly lower power output at 600 horsepower, but with added aero and an even lower curb weight, almost 200 pounds lighter than the road version. Unfortunately, that additional aero doesn't result in an easier car to drive in this game, I mean, it's easier to drive than the stock F1, but in the Group 3 class, this is a top 5 will kill you car. Our fastest lap was a 6:30.716, which, despite its tail happiness, is the 6th fastest non-bopped Group 3 lap in our NNTT series. This is my favorite Ferrari of all time. This car is sick. I mean, it looks great, it sounds great, but yeah, so do many other cars on this list, but this one is just better than the others. When I drove this car, this thing handled amazingly. Just over 500 horsepower and a 2,700 pound chassis and F1 style tuning and aero, you would expect this car to be a rocket. The first time I drove this car around Nordschleife was pretty early on in the NNTT series. It was lap number 34, which is the earliest car that we drove that's featured on this list. Back then, I ran a 737, but after a revisit on lap number 526, we lowered the lap to a 726.996. Let me start this off with the negative. This car is a fucking handful to drive. 640 horsepower in an American chassis is a formula for disaster, unfortunately. But back when I played Gran Turismo 1, I fell in love with this car. It was one of the fastest stock cars in the game, if not the fastest stock car, and the design of the car caught my eye. Back in the day, this car only had a mere 440 horsepower with the 99 model, and we got the 02 model in Gran Turismo 5 with a whopping 8 more horsepower. The 2002 version is in GT7, but I like the current gen, the 13 model, more. Funny story, when this version first released, I wasn't a big fan of it, but Grid Autosport actually made me fall back in love with the car. That V10 grunt, those smooth, silky contour lines, I love it, and I always will. Okay, I have to go now. Bye.